I'll start by saying this story is 100% true. It may have been the overactive imagination of a young boy, but this is how I remember these events happening. The backstory. It started when I was around 8 or 9. I used to share a bedroom with my brother. We had a bunk bed and one TV. At around the age of 8, my brother demanded he have his own room, and my parents obliged. Thus, I got my own room too. My middle brother got a room in the basement, fully finished and cozy. My oldest brother had the bedroom right next to mine. I don't know exactly when I started feeling uneasy being alone in my room, but it was especially bad at night. I wouldn't be able to sleep in the dark. I was one of those kids that would see something in the room and somehow twist and contort it into a face looking at me. I learned later in life that this is an actual thing many people do, but at the time, I was always terrified of it. I would jump up, run across my room, flip the light on, and see the item was just a shirt or a bottle of pop left at just the stupidest, perfect angle to mess with me. Then I would feel a wave of relief, but when I shut off the light, instant panic and fear would come over me again. After a while, I started sleeping with my bedroom door open. There were 2 reasons. One, the limited hallway light was enough to see there was nothing trying to stalk me, but still low enough for me to sleep in. 2, I would hear when my mom got home and knew she was safe. I had an unusual fear when she worked late and she wouldn't make it home, and I couldn't sleep thinking she was in danger. I experienced many weird situations in my house and room, and felt a strong sense of dread and fear, like being watched and stalked almost all of the time. I don't remember the timeline of events for which weird things happened. I usually just told someone in my family and they told me to brush it off, so I would. But the looming sense of fear was always present. There's one particular set of events that stand out in my memory though. The visitor. That is what I came to call him or it. It's really rather simple. I would be laying in bed facing my room. My bed was pushed up against the wall opposite of my door, and I would see a shadow on the ground in the hallway outside of my room. Like I said, the hallway light would be kept on so it was nice and bright out there. It was larger, like a man. Not my brother's, but I knew my dad had already gone upstairs to sleep. Besides, he wouldn't just stand in the hallway for no reason. This shadow would stay there, barely moving, for hours some nights. I would just stare, always afraid to make a noise. It wouldn't show up every night though, just a few times a week at the most. This went on for months. I would be trying to sleep, feel an overwhelming sense of fear, open my eyes and see the shadow in the hall. I say this went on for months because at that point the situation got worse. It was odd. I remember feeling the same fear that the shadow was there, but I wouldn't see it. It was more like I sensed it standing somewhere out there in the hall. Even though I could no longer see it, this happened for only a short time, a few weeks maybe. Then, again, it got much, much worse. On one of the nights I felt scared. I was trying to keep my eyes closed and ignore the feeling. After all, I had already opened my eyes and there was nothing there. The hall was empty. Good luck with that as a child. I opened my eyes and nearly screamed. Just barely inside my door frame was a large, shadowy figure. Shadowy might not describe it well. It wasn't faded or smoky. It seemed solid, dark black. It surprised me because it had no face or frame that I could distinguish. Instead, it seemed like a man wearing a large trench coat and hat. At this point, it sounds like I'm describing some old noir detective working on the job. But again, solid, black. I couldn't see any trace of where the clothing would end and face would begin. No shoes separated from pants. It was all one solid black shape. I wanted to scream, or at least say something, but I couldn't. I had the feeling in your throat when you were sobbing and you can't seem to swallow, like I just couldn't do anything. It just stood there, half of its body in my doorframe. I couldn't technically see that it was looking at me, but my God, I could feel it looking right at me. After staring for who knows how long, I fell asleep. When I woke up, everything was fine and normal. I told my oldest brother what happened. He told me when I see something like that to shut my eyes and tell myself that it isn't real. When I opened my eyes, whatever it was would be gone. I felt the presence most nights after that, but saw nothing. Weeks went by. Finally, it was there again, creeping in my hallway only halfway into my doorframe. I did what my brother said. I closed my eyes. I shut them tight. I whispered to myself over and over, "You're not real. You're not real." After a few minutes, I slowly opened my eyes. The figure was closer now, fully in the doorframe. I sank deeper into my bed. I shut my eyes again and whispered, "You're not real. You're not real," and paused. The odd thing I noticed was the eerie silence of my house at this moment. No noise anywhere. I opened my eyes. The figure was closer, halfway across my room. Again, I sank deeper, this time with tears in my eyes. I shut them hard. I half whispered, half screamed, "You're not real. You're not real." I opened my eyes. I almost died in fear. I felt a sense of death. Even as a young kid, I just knew that it was going to end me. The figure was leaning into my bed, 1 or 2 inches directly in front of my face. I couldn't see any eyes, but I could feel the dark, deep space suffocating me. No breath, no mouth, nothing, just a deep, dark void. Even remembering now makes my heart race. I screamed. I shut my eyes, turned my body to face the corner of my bed and screamed, "Tony! Tony, help!" over and over. My brother rushed into my room within seconds. He yelled, "What's wrong?" Without turning because I was so terrified, I said, "Get him! Help me!" "Who?" he said. "The guy in my room. He's right here," I sobbed back. "Don't fucking wake me up for stupid shit again." My brother stormed back into his room. I could hear the anger in his footsteps. I slowly turned, half expecting to meet my end. Nothing. There was nothing there. I would love to say this was the end, that I never saw my nighttime visitor again. But unfortunately for me, I did. Frequently too. Usually at least once a week after that, I would either feel that presence in the hall or wake up and see it out there, just standing and staring. I never talked to it. I never screamed again. I would just stare back until I fell asleep. The next big visit. I dealt with this for years before having moved into the other bedroom in our basement. I didn't use a light anymore, and the sliding door stayed shut throughout the night. In fact, when I slept in the basement, I never saw my nighttime visitor again. Except one time. This time was different though. I was with a friend hanging out at a nearby park at night. I used to smoke cigarettes when I was young. My friend and I were just sitting around and talking while I took drags from the cigarettes I stole from my brother. Then I saw him, the same visitor, the same damn figure. Seeing him instantly sent a rush of panic through my body. I pointed the figure out to my friend to see if I was just crazy or not. He saw it too. I had told him the story of my bedroom from years before. When he said he saw him, he asked who the figure was. I told my friend that it was the same guy from my bedroom. "What the fuck?" my friend yelled. "We have to go, call the police, get home, something," he started saying in a panicked voice. I don't know why, but at this point in my life, I didn't care about a lot of stuff. I was a troublemaker. I didn't worry about my safety or think much about the repercussions of my actions. I took a long drag, dropped my cigarette, jumped off the jungle gym I was in, and started walking towards the figure. "Stop!" my friend yelled. "Fuck that," I shouted back, not taking my eyes off the figure. This motherfucker wants to creep around at night looking at kids at a park. He wants to fuck around. I'll make sure he stops. I remember I was mad, not scared this time, but just pissed. My friend ran up to me and followed. I started shouting at the figure. As we were walking towards the figure, my friend pointed something out to me. The figure didn't change, it didn't move or anything like that. But what was especially weird is that the size of the figure didn't change. From the jungle gym to the figure was a little over half a block away, it seemed. As we got closer, the figure's body didn't get bigger. The distance between us wasn't changing. I thought maybe he was trying to back away from us, so I took off. I started sprinting right at the figure. For a couple of minutes I sprinted full speed ahead, and still the figure wasn't changing. I had run for about 2 blocks and nothing. It was like an image that pasted into our view, never changing. My friend caught up and we talked about what to do for a second. I looked away for maybe 2 seconds to talk with him, and when we looked back, the figure was gone. Nowhere to be seen. The streets around me were just dark and voided. There was a faint glow on some spaces by dotted street lights, but overall it was too unsettling to stay. We ran back to my house, only a few blocks away. We talked about the figure, but after some time got back to our preteen antics of snacking and gaming. I never saw the figure after this. Until I moved. In middle school, I moved. At this point, I had honestly forgotten about the visitor, not having seen him or it for maybe 2 years or so, and dealing with a whole slew of paranormal and personal problems. He just faded from thought. Until one day, I was hanging out with that same friend. We went and saw a movie at a local theater. After the movie, we were supposed to get picked up by his sister. She wasn't there. We waited for around 30 minutes outside the entrance and got hungry. We went across the street to a McDonald's or something and grabbed some food. We asked to use a phone at the McDonald's to try and call my friend's sister, but they wouldn't let us. They did point us down the street to a diner that would let us call. I don't understand why the guy wouldn't just help us out, but whatever. So we walked down the street, talking about the movie, making jokes, snacking on the rest of our fries. I don't know why, but I had a strange feeling, and decided to look around us. It was a dark street after all, so better safe than sorry. There it was. Blocks away, the figure was looking our way. I showed my friend, who again confirmed he saw the guy. I wasn't feeling as willing to get hurt these days, and told my friend to just go. We turned and started walking for the diner. After a minute or so, I looked back just to check on our visitor. He was so much closer this time. Before, he was blocks away. Now he was on the same block as us. I turned and grabbed my friend's arm, yelling at him to run and hurry up. I never looked back, but I could feel the figure getting closer. We were already pretty close to the diner, so it didn't take more than a minute or so to reach it. We ran through the doors into the safety of light and people. We looked out the door and saw nothing from the way we came. There was a nice guy near the front who asked what was going on. I told him that we just needed a phone to call someone to come pick us up, and come up with some story about racing or something to explain why we were out of breath. He obliged. My friend later asked why I didn't tell the guy. I knew how it would sound, like some crazy or high kids acting foolish at night. No, I just wanted to get home. That was it. I've never seen the figure again. But I'll tell you this, I'm an adult now, 26 with a wife and kid on the way. Still to this day, when my wife goes somewhere for a night and I'm left alone in my home, I still get that slight dread feeling, like it's still here, just hidden away, just waiting in my hallways or watching from somewhere.